So I've been staying away from using a different matcher than toBe in this course. That's because toBe is really fundamentally the one you're going to be using the most of. And the idea there is that it's just making a strict comparison. Is this exactly equal to this? It's really like a triple equals in JavaScript. But there are some additional matchers that I want to bring up and give you some use cases. Again, depending on your library or framework, that you'll be using for testing, they might be slightly different names, but the idea will be the same. So toBeDefined is something you'll see a lot in terms of test-driven development type developers. And it's really done to simply be your first test. At least that's how I use it, I should say. And it exists is usually what my first test is here. And all it is an assert that has an expectation that our user class is actually defined. That's it. Nothing crazy. It's usually there to start off your test suite as you go and follow the red, green refactor pattern. But I haven't used it for anything else other than this, but I do think it's worth noting. The more common one in the toEqual, I think, is the fun one. So let's look at our user class and just see that I have this get helper method here that has the first name, the middle name, the last name, and that gets returned. Now, let's say we had a test, and we'll say get some full name pieces. And in here, we're going to do our arrange, we're going to do our act, and we're going to do our assert. Now, let's just say that we had a first name. We'll just use my name. It's not DLong. We have a constant middle name. Christopher. You think I could spell my name a little quicker? And then we have my last name, which is Israel. And let's say we instantiated our model. Our model is equal to a new user. And in here, we just passed in our values, right? First name, middle name, last name. Okay, now our expectation would be that if we took model.full name pieces, right? That's what we called it. Full name pieces. We would, if we used toBe here, the expectation would be that this would be equivalent to first name, middle name, and last name. If we save it, we'll get an error here. And if you look, and we expand this out a little bit, it actually has the same values. Dylan, Christopher, Israel, Dylan, Christopher, Israel. And you might be going, well, why is that? Well, that's because toBe is doing a strictly equals. This array here is never going to be equal to this array because these are two different values, like two different arrays. Now, if we use toEqual, this is actually going to do a deep comparison, and it's going to compare that first name, index spot 0 is first name, middle name, last name. So that's the difference between toEqual and toBe and toBeDefined. So some additional matchers to be aware of.